Okay, so, you send over these articles about sloth bears, and
Mm-hmm.
I got to be honest, like the name itself, it's like it's a little confusing, right?
Right.
They're not sloths, and from what I'm reading, they're not actually all that slow. So
Yeah.
what's the deal with that?
Well, I think you're going to find, as we kind of get into this, that it is a little bit of a misnomer, but they're definitely not boring. So to give you a little bit of background about them, they are found across the Indian subcontinent, so India, Sri Lanka, Nepal, kind of that whole area. And they are considered to be medium-sized bears, but their weight can actually vary wildly. I mean, you're talking anywhere from like a lean 120 pounds to over 300.
Wow, yeah, that's a big range.
It is.
Yeah. So other than the name, I mean, like what else really sets them apart? Like if you were to see one,
Yeah.
what would you notice about them?
Well, physically, I mean, obviously, first of all, they've got that really shaggy black coat. And then they have that really distinctive white mark on their chest.
Right.
And sometimes it's a V, sometimes it's more of a Y shape. But I think the most striking thing when you see one is that long snout.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. That's the thing that really caught my eye too. It almost makes them look a little anteater-like.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
I'm guessing that has like everything to do with their diet.
It does, yeah. They're primarily insectivores. Termites and ants make up a large part of their diet. So those long claws that you see, those are perfect for ripping open termite mounds. And then that's when that incredible snout really comes into play. They actually have specially adapted lips that allow them to like suck up insects with incredible force.
So like it's not just a look. It's like
Right.
it's actually a like highly specialized tool
It is.
for eating. What would that I mean, would that like could you hear them? Could you hear them slurping up like a bunch of termites?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the ways researchers actually track them in the wild.
Wow.
The sucking and slurping sounds that they make, they can be heard from a pretty good distance.
So like imagine like a bear-sized vacuum cleaner
Yeah, pretty much.
just like going to town on a termite mound. That's wild.
Uh,
But I was reading that like they're not strictly insectivores though.
right, yeah. They're actually omnivores.
Okay.
So, in addition to insects, they've also got a taste for fruits and honey. And this is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you see, this diverse diet actually makes them super important for the ecosystem as a whole.
How so?
Well, as they're going around kind of, feasting on all these different fruits, they actually become like unwitting seed dispersers.
Ah, yeah.
So they're spreading seeds throughout their habitat, which helps to maintain like the health and the diversity of the forests.
So I mean they're not just unique, they're actually crucial. Yeah. And those claws too. I mean, we were talking about how they use those for the termite mounds, but
Yeah.
I was also reading that they're pretty good climbers as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They are very good climbers. And it's interesting because those claws are, like we were saying, they're multi-purpose tools, so they're good for digging, they're good for climbing. And this actually leads into another really fascinating fact about them. Mother sloth bears will actually carry their cubs on their backs while they're foraging and climbing.
Wait, hold on. So they have their cubs like on their backs
Yeah,
while they're climbing trees?
while they're climbing. Uh-huh.
How is that even possible?
Well, I mean, it's a testament to their strength and their agility for sure.
Yeah.
But, while they might be, skilled climbers and devoted mothers, they aren't exactly known for their like social skills. So,
Well,
unlike some other bear species, they tend to be pretty solitary.
yeah, yeah. Aside from the mothers and the cubs.
Yeah.
Right.
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 Exactly.
That makes sense. Um so I guess, kind of on that topic, like how about their temperament? Like are they as aggressive as some people make them out to be?
I mean, they can be unpredictable, especially when they feel threatened.
Okay.
And this unfortunately leads to conflict with humans pretty often, especially where their habitat overlaps with, human settlements.
Right. Yeah. Especially, I think we were, talking about this earlier, but especially since their conservation status is already a concern, right?
Mhm.
Like I believe they're listed as vulnerable.
They are, yeah. They're classified as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List, which, for those who don't know, that's the International Union for Conservation of Nature's list of threatened species.
Hmm.
So it's a global authority on the conservation status of plants and animals, and being classified as vulnerable basically means that they face a very high risk of extinction in the wild. Um, And, the main threats are, as you mentioned, are habitat destruction, there's poaching, and then, as we were just discussing, that human-wildlife conflict.
I mean, these conflicts, they're not just isolated incidents. They're actually like a real threat.
Exactly. And it just highlights how important those conservation efforts are.
Right.
So protecting their habitats, reducing conflict, and then, combating that illegal wildlife trade are all really important.
It's clear that we have a real responsibility to protect these creatures. But before we wrap up here, I wanted to ask you about this because it seems like sloth bears have like a special place in South Asian culture. I mean, they pop up in folklore, they pop up in stories. Why do you think that is?
I mean, well, they're pretty unique animals, right? So
Yeah.
you've got these incredible adaptations,
Yeah.
their solitary nature, their strength, and their fierceness. All of that has just, captivated people for centuries.
Yeah, I mean, it really has been like an eye-opening kind of journey for me,
Mhm.
getting to learn more about sloth bears because I mean they're clearly so much more than just kind of a peculiar
Well,
need.
exactly.
So
Well, and as you go through those articles that you have, I think you're going to find even more fascinating details. But I will leave you with this. Knowing how vital these bears are to the ecosystem and knowing the threats that they're facing, what innovative solutions can we explore to really minimize that human sloth bear conflict? Because ultimately that's going to be key to their survival.
yeah,
And it's going to require creativity and it's going to require, collaboration.
absolutely,
So something to think about.
definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk about this with me. This has been really, really great.
Yeah, this was fun.
All right, to all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll catch you next time.